What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Mars, and as you can see by the title, today I'm going to be giving part one of my thoughts while watching the Michael movie. And before we get into this video, I just want to let y'all know that this is not going to be one of those videos where I'm breaking down this was false, this wasn't really true, this didn't happen, this wasn't part of the timeline, this that. I'm not doing all that. I got enough going on in my life as it is. I just came for a good time. That's it. That's all. But yeah. While I was in the movie though, I was writing down. I brought my notebook that I'm gonna start doing this when I attend more things like discussion panels and even movies or just anything where it's like something to keep me awakened because I don't get enough sleep and sometimes I do, drift off. But anywho, yeah, I was taking out notes as I watched the movie and basically just to come up with the idea, basically just to come up with this video sharing like my thoughts while watching it. So I'm going to be going through a list of my thoughts. I have them right here, so if you see me looking over here, that's what I'm looking at. But yeah, let's get into it. First, I want to talk about my thoughts before watching, and I started off with, I didn't want to have any expectations. Like once the movie was first officially announced, I was like, I don't want to have no expectations. I don't want to, think too much on how I feel things should play out, this and that. Because that's how you lead yourself to being disappointed. So with that being said, I just said like, hey, we just gonna go with taking whatever is given to us, honestly. And that's pretty much all I had when it came to like expectations. I didn't want any at all. And I did have a concern about like how the prosthetic makeup would be. I was wondering like, will it be like close to looking like a parody or too like overly dramatic? And I feel like that's one of my main concerns when it comes to like anybody like acting as Michael. A lot of them try to so hard to like make it look like him or just to try to like resemble his change of looks and things like that to a point where it kind of looks almost like a parody or you're trying to make fun of him or something of the sort. And to a certain extent, well, I guess I'll get into that later, but that was a concern. I didn't want especially with the noses, like I didn't want it to look very dramatic or obviously fake. um but I would also like to see the BTS of them doing the process of the makeup and the change of noses throughout the eras. And I also really love prosthetic makeup and I want to like get into it. Not me doing it, but people doing it on me. Like I really want to do the dramatic looks and just becoming a different person and having to embody another character. Like that's so fun to me. And I know that they say prosthetic makeup can take a long time, sometimes like hours, just for something as simple as probably just adding on a nose. And I'll be willing to sit through it long as the finishing product is good. All right, so now we're going to get straight into my thoughts while watching. So first thought I had is that I still hear Coleman Domingo, but I can definitely see Joe a slight bit. Um, this is where I was like really concerned about the makeup. It was very overly cakey and dramatic. Like his face was melting, I'm not gonna lie. And he didn't look like a real person at all. But in a sense, he did resemble Joe, especially like older Joe. I mean, he did kind of look like that. The eyes looked like he had cataracts, but I mean, it looked like Joe to a certain extent. But in his voice, I still heard Coleman Domingo. Like it still sounded like his regular speaking voice to me, just with different like inflections that he probably wouldn't personally do, if that makes sense. But I still, even though I still heard Coleman Domingo, I still heard Joe too, like with the way that he was saying certain things. He actually really did a really good job as Joe too, by the way. Second thought was, how did Joe Jackson even get into the show business if he worked at a warehouse? And I recently learned that I always knew that he worked at a warehouse and things of that nature, but I didn't know that he was actually part of a band before. And he was the guitarist of that band, and the band failed due to them like having a hard time trying to receive a contract for them to, record and also produce music paid while being paid to do so and performing. And I've said that this is possibly where he could have learned like from their mistakes during the process of being in a band. And it really just showed like how he used what he learned from there and all the losses that he probably got from being part of the band, and added that to his strategy of supporting the idea and concept of the Jackson 5. And for my third thought, I said, how was Joe able to balance working at the warehouse and supporting the Jackson 5 at the same time? And in the film, you can even see this, like straight out of work, he would get them out of bed for practice. Like he'd get off in the middle of the night and be like, hey, come on, it's time to go. We got practice to do. This is the only way we're going to do this, do that. And it'll be just enough time for them to, practice those things and then go back to sleep so that they can get ready for school. From the movie, that's what it appeared as, how he navigated through that. And I'm pretty sure on weekends, like, it was probably like full throttle. Like, he didn't mind staying up even longer than that to make sure that they practiced their things and had everything down to a T. My fourth thought was Motown helpful with stopping some of the abuse? And this thought was sparked from like seeing the scene with Barry Gordon and how he was basically talking to Michael and telling him like, hey, you're moving a lot, like you're moving away from the mic, because Michael was someone that was losing himself in, dancing and all of that while singing. And that was also a hardship that, well, not a hardship, a challenge that Joe was having with Michael as well, because he would lose himself so much with the music. He'll be too focused on like dancing and just pretty much dancing and singing, but he wouldn't like look into the audience for like audience engagement and things of that nature. And he was dealing with that too while in the studio. He was doing a lot of movement, and he was moving away from the mic. So it was making it hard for them to like actually record him and things of that nature. And Barry Gordon was just like, hey, Michael, you keep moving back from the mic, like calm down a little bit, record yourself, this, we're trying to record you, this and that. And Joe was like, hey, you need me to go in there, all I need is 5 minutes, and I'll make sure he'll do whatever we need him to do, this and that. And Barry Gordon was like, hey man, like calm down, like it's good, he good. You just make sure that they be on time. And yeah, he was basically just working with Michael and just understanding like, hey, I know that he is really like loving this and things of that nature. And he was also, I know that he's really like enjoying himself. So I don't want to like ruin his experience of, enjoying this recording session. So I know that I can't stop him from, doing his dancing and all of that. I can't stop him from doing his dancing and all of that, but I just need him to stay and do it at a point to where like we still get a good recording. And that's what happened. Michael was still doing his own thing, and as you can see, like throughout later in life, like he still developed, well, he still maintained his act of, dancing even during recording sessions, because you can even hear Quincy Jones in later in the movie. He's like, hey man, keep them feet still in here. So it's like basically he developed his own like thing for, creating music and, still finding joy while doing it. My fifth thought was, who was styling and tailoring Jackson 5 early in their careers? And this was basically Katherine Jackson, as I assumed. And what many people don't know is that she was actually a singer as well, and she also knew how to play the piano, and one of her dreams was to become an actress or a country singer. And I kind of knew that it would be the mom, of course, you know, doing all of the outfits and things like that, because it's just, I mean, every black group artists talk about like starting out, they didn't really have no fashion houses or seamstress and things of that nature that were willing to, you know, style them and stuff like that, especially in the white fashion houses and white, you know, costume designers and all of that. They didn't really want to work with them. People with the actual skill technique where they were trained, went to school for doing this and that. So early in many artists and groups careers, they start off with like people who are pretty much self-taught or taught by their family and things of that nature to create their own looks. And many of these looks have become truly iconic. And yeah, I just knew that it had to be her, you know, doing the looks. But that definitely came across my mind. I was looking at them like, these are actually like really good fits. So I wonder like, how are they getting these? The sixth thought was, in American Dream, MJ had been the rat while they were still poor. But in Michael the movie, he was already a little more affluent when he got Ben. And I don't know if I haven't watched the American Dream in a while, but I do kind of remember him being not as affluent when he had the rat. And from the looks of it in the movie, the Michael movie, I believe that he was already living in the new house when they had been. And it just made me wonder, like, how is the original story like really go? Like, how did this go in real life? Like, did he have the rat um during the movie or what? And I don't think that the rat was like bought. I believe it was just like one that was just around the house. So that's what makes me think like, okay, this has to be like when they were poor. But who's to say that you can't have rats when you live in a rich big house? My seventh thought is that Katherine Jackson doesn't get credited enough for being Michael's protector and safe haven. She really defended Michael a lot, especially when it came to like Joe. She stopped him from getting a lot of beatings or just made them end a lot more prematurely. And also when Joe would go on these rants about how he made this possible, this wouldn't have happened for this and that. I love how in the Michael movie she's like, yeah, you keep thinking that, like, you keep thinking that you made this boy or all of these children, like, you didn't, it's not just you. A lot of the things that in success like they've achieved is because of their ability, and that's not something that could really like be taught all the time. Like, some of this stuff is just God-given, and you basically saying like they wouldn't do this because of that, because of me, this and that, is like you trying to say that you're God, and you're absolutely not. But yeah, she really loved and nurtured him, and she also spent a lot of time like thanking him for changing their lifestyle. And I just really hope that she knows like Michael really did like love her and appreciate her. But it also makes me wonder, like, as he was nearing like his last few days and all of that, what was their relationship like? But yeah, I I the movie, Michael movie, definitely made me like appreciate Katherine Jackson even more, and I feel like she should really be talked about more. And I just hope that she knows like how loved she is. Like, she literally birthed legends, not one, but in a sense, every person that she's given birth to is legendary in their own ways. Like how do you just casually live after doing something like that and still be like humble about it? My eighth thought is that I love how they didn't make Jafar blackface or whiteface. Like, within all of the eras, like, we can tell like, okay, Michael Jackson is still black. Like, in real life, he definitely, when he went into bad area and all of that and so on, like, he definitely became really, really fair skinned. But in this movie, you know, it stops at bad era, or yeah, it stops at bad era. And even though he's more fair skinned, he's not white. Like you can still see like he's melanated. And it's also not too far away from Jafar's actually skin tone. Even in Off the Wall, he's not that dark. He's not that white in the bad era either. So I think that was they did a good job with that, and hopefully in the supposedly part two they continue this without like making him lose all his melanin in a sense, because a lot of people they forget that Michael Jackson is actually a black man because of how fair skinned he was in his later days, which I guess you can make sense of it, but everybody know that that man was black. But I guess it makes sense in a such. So just to have them like showcase like he has a little bit of melanin still, um, yeah, I think that's yeah. My ninth thought is that he looks a lot more like him during the Thriller era, and it's really the teeth that seals the deal, and the eyes and the nose especially. Like especially when he starts putting the eyeliner around like the whole eye, he really looks like him a lot. And the hair itself is also very accurate to, you know, that era. Um, yeah, he really looks like him a lot to me. And I be seeing people saying like they didn't see it, this and that, but I definitely see it. I mean, he looks very similar to him. He doesn't look just like him, but there is a resemblance. Of course, I mean like that's his uncle. And also like starting out when the movie first like began and we was in, you know, the Off the Wall era, I was like, okay, I hear Michael, but I don't see Michael. Like the look was like, even from like the hair and just like the shape of the nose, I was like, it's looking very off-ish. But as we progressed and we got into like the Thriller era, I was like, oh my god, that's him. And 10, my last thought for part one is Joe's reaction to MJ's nose procedure was him realizing how much power actually lies within his words. And, you know, when my, okay, I said I wasn't about to do this, but I think I have to for this specifically. Michael actually got his first nose job because of an accident that he had during dance practice. He ended up falling on his nose and something like that, and it broke something within the sort of that. I don't know exactly. That was like way before like the Thriller era. And he ended up actually getting a nose job during the Thriller era. Well, sometime before the era actually began. And that was for cosmetics. The first one was because he needed it. The second one was because he wanted to appear better looking or just go a different route. Like after realize, I believe him breaking his nose realized like it made him realize like, oh, there's people that can change the way that I look. I have to look more into like if there was anyone out there that actually inspired him to, you know, get into cosmetic surgery, because I know that he did influence Stephanie Mill and Patti LaBelle to get their nose jobs and things like that after he referred Stephanie Mills to the doctor that he used for his cosmetic procedure. So it just makes me wonder like, was that like inspiring him to be like, oh, I can make changes? We know that the dad, Joe, always talks about him and call him big nose and talks about his acne and all of that stuff like that. But you know, these were the early years of like cosmetic surgeries, and I just feel like it's really scary to be willing to like take a risk such as that. Like even in the movie there was like, you're actually a really handsome guy. Like, you sure you want to make this change? The doctor said to him, and he was like, Yeah. But even in the movie though, like, I don't want to say, in a sense, I kind of felt like he had already gotten his nose done before, but because the nose was a bit different in my opinion. Like, it seemed like he had already had it done before, but he was trying to like get more changes in a sense. Like, the way that he was nervously acting in there, like, they was asking like, are you on any medication, this and that, have you had a procedure before? And he was like, no. It's almost like they were planning to him basically like lying about like having, sometimes Michael Jackson did lie, he's human, lie about getting certain procedures done. But yeah, sometimes even to me saying like he lied, he probably wasn't lying, because this was like the earliest years of these cosmetic surgeries happening. But also, as you age, your nose and facial features do begin to change and balance out. And also with the surgery, like, the healing causes you to have a different look and stuff like that. So maybe he wasn't lying, maybe he was. We'll never know, because Michael's not here to really like defend himself. But yeah. Also, I feel like he really like sped up the recovery process when it came to him having a procedure. Like in the movie, we saw him like putting on makeup to cover up the black eye and all of that after, you know, having that procedure done, because your eyes blacken and stuff like that due to blood rushing within the area and all of that. But yeah, I'll go into that's all that I have for part one for my thoughts while watching the Michael movie. This was definitely a great watch, in my opinion. Like, if you're coming into this movie and wanting to see like something just like for fun, lighthearted, and things of that nature, that's definitely what it is. Of course, they're not gonna get into the nitty gritty and the real way of how his true demons were just his father, but the industry as well. But you know, that's how the movie industry goes. That's how real life goes. But I definitely enjoyed it, and I definitely have more to share with you all. So definitely be on the lookout for part 2 coming soon. But yeah, thank y'all for watching, and see y'all in the next one.